The air in downtown Savannah was thick with summer heat. But inside Harper's Haven, the most sought-after event venue in Georgia, the morning felt crisp, almost electric. Harper Ellis, 34, sat behind the sleek glass reception desk, her fingers dancing across the keyboard as sunlight spilled through the velvet drapes, casting golden streaks on the polished oak floors. Her dark roast coffee steamed beside her, untouched, as she scanned the week's bookings, vendor confirmations, invoice checks, the usual grind of running a business she'd built from the ground up. At 8:03 a.m., her inbox was already bloated. But Harper thrived in the chaos. That is, until a name on the master calendar stopped her cold: Mason Wright Wedding. Private coordinator. Her pulse spiked. Mason. That was her younger sister, Lila Mason, 28. Lila had no business being tied to Harper's venue without her explicit approval. The screen glowed with the audacity of it, like a graffiti tag on a cathedral. Harper's hand hovered over the mouse, her mind racing. She hit the intercom, her voice sharp but controlled. "Tessa, you in yet?" A beat later, her assistant's voice crackled through. "Just walked in, boss. What's up? Get to my office, now." While waiting, Harper clicked into the event profile. The booking had come through a third-party planner, Sterling Events Company, bypassing Harper's internal system. The details were brazen: grand ballroom, full luxury package, date set for July 15th, a premium slot booked 6 months out. Minimum. Tessa arrived, clutching her tablet, her hazel eyes narrowing as she sensed trouble. Harper spun the monitor toward her. "Recognize this name?" Tessa leaned in, her brows lifting. "Lila Mason? That's your sister, right?" "Exactly," Harper said, her tone clipped. "But I didn't greenlight this." Tessa scrolled through the file. "Booked 3 weeks ago via Sterling. Signed and paid in full." Harper's jaw tightened. "Signed by who?" Tessa tapped the screen, and there it was. Harper Ellis. The name glared back, but it wasn't hers, not really. "Open the contract," Harper said, her voice low, steady, but laced with something dangerous. Tessa pulled up the PDF. At the bottom, a signature, elegant, looping, almost perfect. Almost. It was too sharp, too theatrical, a mimicry of Harper's real hand. "I didn't sign this," Harper said, her eyes locked on the screen. Tessa hesitated. "You sure?" Harper's laugh was bitter. "I don't sign 6-figure deals without a face-to-face." She opened her archive, pulled up a verified contract from last quarter, and placed her true signature side by side with the forgery. The differences screamed, slight, but undeniable. Tessa whistled low. "This is, wow, big." Harper didn't respond. Her mind was already 5 steps ahead, piecing together fragments. A text from her mother, Diane, flashed in her memory. Sent weeks ago. "Don't stress about family stuff. Hun, we've got it covered." Covered? Apparently, by forging her damn name. She opened their family group chat, scrolling past emojis and recipe links until she found Lila's message. "Hope y'all are free July 15th. It's gonna be the party of the decade." No venue mentioned. No RSVP. No heads up. It wasn't an invitation. It was a setup. The contract listed the total: $212.400. Custom chandeliers, live jazz band, valet service, imported silk tablecloths, all charged under Harper's name, with her listed as the financial backer. Her blood ran cold, but her hands stayed steady. She turned to Tessa. "Do we still have last week's overnight security footage?" Tessa nodded. 7-day loop. "Why? I want to see who's been in my ballroom." They pulled up the feed from 4 nights ago. There was Lila, strutting through the grand ballroom in sky-high heels and a cream blazer, trailed by a planner and 2 interns with clipboards and iPhones. No check-in, no guest log, no text to Harper. Lila moved like she owned the place, her laughter echoing off the crystal sconces Harper had handpicked from a Parisian auction. Harper's jaw locked. This wasn't a mistake. This was a heist. Every nerve in her body screamed to call Lila, to tear through the group chat, to demand answers. But Harper didn't flinch. She clicked print on the contract, snapped screenshots of the forged signature, timestamped the footage, and grabbed the booking portal metadata. On her desktop, she created a folder, Lila July. Every file was meticulously labeled, forged_signature.pdf. Ballroom_footage_07-03.mp4. Event_listing_sterling.png. No confrontation. Not yet. Just evidence. Just ammunition. You wanted a war, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I'll pick the battlefield. She leaned back, her eyes drifting to the wall of fabric swatches behind her desk, samples she'd curated for clients who valued her craft. Her fingers tapped the desk. Deliberate, rhythmic. She thinks I'll stay quiet, Harper murmured, a half-smile curling her lips. She's right, for now. That night, Harper didn't go home. She wandered the halls of Harper's Haven. Past the arched doorways she'd sketched on napkins at 25. Past the marble columns she'd saved for over years of ramen dinners and side hustles. She told herself it was a routine check for the weekend galas. But deep down, she needed to feel the pulse of the place. This wasn't just her business. It was her blood, her bones, her proof. The next morning, something was off before she even crossed the lobby. The air carried a scent, gardenias. Sharp and unapproved. Laughter, loud and staged, spilled from the grand ballroom. Harper followed the sound, her heels clicking against the floor. Petals, white orchids, littered the entry rug. Not part of any plan she'd signed off on. Inside, the ballroom glowed with morning light. And there, beneath the Venetian chandelier she'd imported on a whim, stood Lila. Lila, 28 and radiant in a tailored jumpsuit, her stilettos clacking too loudly, was directing a florist like a movie star on set. She waved a leather-bound planner, snapping her fingers. Harper's chest tightened, but she kept her composure. Who authorized this? She asked, her voice cutting through the chatter. Aimed at a young staffer arranging vases. He froze. The client, Ms. Mason. Harper took 2 steps forward. Lila hadn't noticed her yet. Then their eyes met. Lila's posture shifted. She tilted her head, sliding her sunglasses down her nose with a smirk. Well, look who finally showed up, she said, loud enough for the room to pause. Harper didn't falter. Lila's smile sharpened. You're not needed here, Harper. I wasn't aware I needed permission to enter my own venue, Harper replied, her voice calm but unyielding. Lila raised an eyebrow. You don't, but this space is for actual clients. Then, with a flick of her wrist, she gestured to her planner, her voice dripping with disdain. Can someone get her out of here? This is a luxury venue, not a soup kitchen. The room went still. A clipboard clattered to the floor. A glass tilted, clinking but not breaking. Harper stood rooted, her face unreadable, taking in every averted gaze, every held breath, except Tessa's. Tessa slipped in through a side door, her eyes locking with Harper's, reading the humiliation in the air. Too late to stop it. Lila rolled her eyes, turning back to her planner. Are we running this rehearsal or what? Harper didn't speak. She reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and hit record. Lila caught the motion, laughing sharply. Seriously? You're filming me now? Harper's voice was flat. For venue records. Lila scoffed. What? You gonna sue your own sister for using a room you probably didn't even pay for yourself? Harper kept the camera steady. No, she said softly. I just won't forget. She turned and walked out. No slammed doors, no raised voice. But inside, something ignited, not pain, but a colder, sharper resolve. Tessa followed her to the office. Harper sat, opened her laptop, and dragged the new clip into the Lila July folder, naming it verbal_ejection_ballroom.mp4. Tessa lingered in the doorway. That was vicious, she said quietly. Harper nodded. She meant every word. Tessa hesitated. Want me to pull her contract? No, Harper said, her eyes fixed on the screen. Let her dig her own grave first. She opened a blank spreadsheet, labeling the columns. Date, incident, emotional toll, response. She didn't fill it yet, just stared at the empty cells. Then she saved it, whispering to the empty room. You want the spotlight, Lila. But I'm holding the mic. The grand ballroom of Harper's Haven stood silent. Its chandeliers dimmed, the air heavy with the ghost of a wedding that would never happen. Harper Ellis, 34, sat alone in her office. The glow of her laptop casting sharp shadows across her face. The clock ticked past midnight. But sleep was a stranger tonight. On her screen, a folder named Lila July pulsed with evidence, videos, screenshots, contracts. Each file a brick in the wall she'd built against her sister's betrayal. But this wasn't about revenge. This was about reclaiming what was hers, her name, her dignity, her truth. Days earlier, Harper had made a move that would unravel Lila Mason's carefully curated world. She'd sent a single email to Sterling Events Company, the planners behind Lila's illicit wedding booking. Attached was a 20-second security clip from July 10, timestamp 9:46 p.m. In it, Lila, 28, stood in the grand ballroom, her voice a venomous whip as she berated a young florist, Maria, a first-generation Mexican-American barely 19. "Are you even listening?" Lila had snapped, ripping a peony from Maria's arrangement and tossing it to the floor. "This is pathetic. My followers will eat me alive if this garbage is in my photos. Are you lazy or just stupid?" Maria's hands shook, her eyes wide with shock. Another staffer tried to intervene, only to have Lila shove his clipboard to the ground with a crack. Harper's email was surgical. Attached is footage from Harper's Haven. Grand Ballroom, 0710. Behavior violates staff safety protocols per Section 3.2 of our venue handbook. Under review for contract termination. H. Ellis. No fluff. No emotion. Just facts. She'd included the handbook excerpt. Highlighted in bold. Any client or guest who verbally abuses, harasses, or threatens staff may be removed and/or have their contract terminated without refund. 2 days later, a response landed in Harper's inbox. Tessa, her assistant, delivered it in person, a crisp letter on Sterling Events embossed stationery. Harper unfolded it, her pulse steady. The words were stark. Event withdrawal notification. Due to breach of professional conduct, Sterling Events Company withdraws sponsorship and hosting support for the Mason Wright wedding. Effective immediately. No apologies. No explanations. Just black ink and finality. Harper didn't smile. She sipped her coffee, now cold, and said softly, "Let Lila spin that one." The fallout was swift and brutal. Sterling's decision didn't stay quiet. By Friday, whispers hit the internet like sparks on dry grass. Lila posted a shaky Instagram live from her loft. Her mascara smudged, her voice trembling without conviction. It was stress, she claimed, clutching a tissue that never met her eyes. "I'm passionate about my vision." That clip was taken out of context. But the internet doesn't forgive when you insult a young immigrant worker on camera. TikTok exploded with reaction videos. Creators mimicked Lila's sneer. "Lazy or just stupid? Huh?" A tweet went viral. "Money can't buy class." Hashtag Maria deserves better. Memes flooded X hashtags like hashtag Lila loses trended. And Lila's follower count bled by the thousands. Her skincare brand deal vanished overnight. Her wedding registry website crashed. And then, the final blow, her fiancé, Ethan Wright, unfollowed her, deleted their engagement photos, and changed his status to single. Harper watched it unfold from her living room. A glass of Pinot Noir untouched on the coffee table. She didn't retweet, didn't comment, didn't gloat. She opened her Lila July folder and added a new entry. Event cancelled. Sterling severed ties. Clip viral. 2.7 M views. 89% public sentiment favorable per trending replies. She leaned back, her eyes tracing the ceiling. "You wanted a headline, Lila," she whispered. "You got one." But Lila wasn't done. That night, she went live again, this time from a glitzy hotel suite. Her hair perfectly curled, her voice cracking on cue. "My sister's always been jealous," she said, staring into the camera. "Harper's bitter. She couldn't stand that I found love, success, a life she'll never have. So she sabotaged my wedding." The comments flooded in. "Ruthless. Why'd you forge her signature then? She built that venue you trashed. Sit down, Lila. Harper didn't respond. Instead, she uploaded a single PDF to a public Dropbox, the forged contract. Lila's fake signature circled in red beside Harper's notarized original. No caption, no explanation. The link spread like wildfire. Reddit, Instagram, X. A lawyer on TikTok dissected it like a courtroom drama, racking up 1.2 million views. Within hours, Lila's last bridesmaid unfollowed her. Another liked Harper's link. A third posted, "Should have treated people better." Harper forwarded Lila's final email. Subject, "You win. Body. Happy now?" to her attorney without opening it. She didn't need to read it. She knew the script. She deleted Lila's number from her phone, blocked her on every platform, and turned off notifications. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was hers. The next evening, Harper walked through the grand ballroom, now stripped of Lila's gaudy decor. The marble gleamed under soft lighting, the air clean of gardenias. She paused beneath the chandelier, her heels echoing faintly. "You didn't just lose a wedding, Lila," she said to the empty room. "You lost me, my name, my work, my grace." She locked the door behind her. The click final, like a period at the end of a long sentence. Back home, Harper sat on her porch, the Savannah sky bruising purple. She opened an old journal. Not the one for business or rage, but the one for truths too heavy for screens. She wrote, "I thought silence was strength. That love meant carrying everyone else's weight. I was wrong. Silence was submission. Love shouldn't cost me myself." She closed the book, her breath steady. The weight of years, loans co-signed for Lila. Holiday gifts that were never repaid. Her parents' guilt trips fell away. She'd paid enough. Her phone buzzed. A text from her cousin, Mia, in Atlanta. "Lila's gone to Colorado. No job, no posts, nothing. She's ghosting." Harper nodded at the screen. Not in victory, but in acknowledgement. Some people don't change, they just disappear. She blocked the last gossip account tagging Lila and poured herself a second glass of wine. The next morning, an email arrived from a small press in Charleston. "We followed your venue story. Ever thought of telling the untold version?" Harper closed it without replying. She wasn't ready to turn her pain into a product. Instead, she opened her journal again and wrote, "This isn't about winning. It's about breathing again." She lit a sandalwood candle, its scent grounding her, and stared at the flame. "I'm not the girl they raised," she whispered. "I'm the woman I became." Days later, Harper stood in the grand ballroom during a fundraiser setup. Tables were draped in ivory linens, candles flickering, baskets for a silent auction lined up by the fountain. The organizers, survivors, advocates, women who wore resilience like armor, asked if she'd speak. She shook her head. "Let them tell their stories," she said to Tessa. "Mine's still being written." That night, Harper sat on her couch. The house warm, alive with a quiet she'd earned. She opened her laptop, not to check X or emails, but to draft a single line. "Love doesn't demand your dignity. Boundaries aren't betrayal." She didn't post it. She didn't need to. The truth didn't need an audience to stand. To anyone listening, Harper's story isn't just about a cancelled wedding or a sister's fall. It's about the cost of loyalty, the lies we tell ourselves to keep family close, and the freedom that comes when you stop paying their price. If you've ever carried someone else's weight, stayed silent when you should have spoken, or walked away from a love that hurt more than it healed, know this: you don't owe anyone your peace. Your story matters. Share it, whether it's a whisper to yourself or a shout to the world. Drop a comment, say where you're watching from, or just leave a 1 if this hit home. If it didn't, tell me why. I'm here for it all. And if this story moved you, hit subscribe. More tales of healing, hard truths, and standing tall are coming. The end? It's yours to write.